You're listening to The Luxury Item, the podcast on the business of luxury and the people and companies that are shaping the future of the luxury industry. Here's your host, Scott Kerr.
Piaget is among the most recognized luxury watch and jewelry brands in the world. Founded by Georges Piaget in 1874, the company started as a movement manufacturer for established watch brands and expanded into high jewelry in 1959. Many records have been set by Piaget for its ultra-thin watch movements, and the Maison is responsible for several iconic watch collections, including the sporty and luxurious Polo, the Altiplano, Limelight Gala, Black Tie, and Possession. The company also owns the largest jewelry workshop in Geneva, and all stones for watches are cut and set in-house, which is exceptionally rare in the industry. Piaget was purchased by Richemont in 1998. My guest on the luxury item is Jean-Bernard Forot, head of Patrimony at Piaget. Jean-Bernard has been with the Maison since 1999, starting out as marketing and creative manager, then director of jewelry, and high watchmaking. As supervisor of the creative studio from 2001 to 2017, Jean-Bernard's work resulted in establishing major collections. All of them carry a strong artistic dimension and express true joie de vivre, two concepts Jean-Bernard Forot holds dear. In May 2021, he moved on to become Piaget's head of Patrimony and started a new chapter of his long-lasting history with the Swiss company. In his own words, Jean-Bernard said his mission as head of Patrimony is to promote and sublimate Piaget's culture, family history, and icons. Welcome to the luxury item, Jean-Bernard.
Hello from Geneva, Scott, and thanks you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me. So, you've been with Piaget for about 26 years, head of the Maison's Patrimony since 2021. You intimately understand the Piaget brand and its DNA. I think a great place to start is if you could give our listeners an overview of your role as head of Patrimony at Piaget and the responsibilities tied to that position.
Well, my role is really to work on the equity of Piaget and to tell the story of this Maison. It's the story of a modest Swiss farmers who built over 4 generations a prestigious watch and jewelry Maison, renowned for its craftsmanship and creativity, a specific creativity blending elegance and extravagance that we name extravaganza. And this equity, we still have to build it every day and also to share it. And as I mentioned, Piaget has a rich story on 4 generations without any interruption. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine how many documents, photos, drawings, stories we own? It's so impressive. And above all, we have the great honor to have the regular contribution of Monsieur Yves Piaget, who is a living treasure for us. So all this create a unique legacy. And if you allow me to deep dive a bit, it's true that in our daily job, we devote a big part to archives. Archives, it means original drawings, notebooks, product sheets, pictures, old advertising campaigns, catalogs that we have to classify, to index, to protect. And also recently, we also have started to digitize them, to keep, I would say, a contemporary way of using them. And this is the same thing, we love to interview the retired people because they tell us so much about the company and it's so lively that we also have a great part in registering them. We also have an amazing private collection that the family started in 1991. So just to give you an overview, we have almost 1,000 timepieces and movements, something like 250 jewels, some artworks and objects also. And so they tell the story I was talking about, but also of the evolution of our crafts, the inspiration, the style, and also the link with famous clients or artists who bought them, and that created the reputation of Piaget. And I can talk about them because we have an American DNA at Piaget with amazing clients such as Jackie Kennedy, Miles Davis, Andy Warhol, some others, and also sometimes we also owned emotional pieces, such as the first pocket watch that the founder Georges-Edouard Piaget crafted for his wife, Emma. So, it's a mix and it's very comprehensive. The patrimony is also something that we love to make it come to life. So that's why we are organizing traveling exhibitions in our boutique, in some brand events. And sometimes we share also more directly with our clients through experiences. Sometimes we sustain some launches, such recently with the Andy Warhol watch, or Piaget Polo, or 60, or Possession, and so on. So it's very interesting to see how heritage is important in a company. And even more recently, during the 150th anniversary, we try to see how we can make it a bit more contemporary in the way to express patrimony. And we have had the idea to create small videos, so small sagas on our history. And it was we're gathering lots of image, because to tell a story from a script to a video, you need so many images. And so we have had to go out old advertising campaigns, catalogs, and also some pictures on which we had some celebrities. So we have had to contact them or their rightful owner, such as Roger Moore or Ursula Andress, or the Dali Foundation, or photographers such as Alberto Rizzo. So it was a huge work, and we have been helped also by some agency, because we cannot do everything in-house. But it was also very interesting to reconnect to people that was part of the story, even if today, because it's life, they have become older, but it's really important to have that testimony.
Yeah.
And to finish, in our job, we also have an activity of patronage, started by the family with the city of Venice, for instance, where Piaget restored the movement of the clock of the tower in Piazza San Marco. Or we work also on Homo Faber. I don't know if you know it. It's an exhibition in Venice also to preserve métiers d'art. We have also restored the Grace Kelly's Rose Garden in Monaco, because there is a deep connection between Monsieur Piaget and the rose. And just recently, we are at the present time working with a museum in La Chaux-de-Fonds. La Chaux-de-Fonds is a key museum for the watch enthusiast and the connoisseur, where they have a huge and amazing exhibition. And this year we are participating to the exhibition on the 350th anniversary of the Spiral Spring. So you see, it's very different from one day to another, and it's what we do at Patrimony at Piaget.
So when Piaget releases a new watch or jewelry design, I imagine the process from drawing to prototype to final product is a collaborative effort. Could you share how you work with other teams and the approach you take in bringing new collections to life?
Creation is always linked to emotion, and surprise. And surprise is something that is very key for Stéphanie Civrier, who is our creative director, who is managing the creative studio of Piaget. And we know that this moment is so precious when we have to work on a new collection, or a new creation. Also because one day it will be shared with the client or with the owner. So as you said, Scott, it's a very creative and collaborative process. And at Piaget, we have the chance to all work in the same building, because the headquarters is based on the manufacturers in Geneva. So we really can gather many expertise. So on the patrimony side, most of the time, when the creative studio has an inspiration, a brief, or a mood board, they comes to meet us and to look, what has been done before? So we prepare gouache drawings, iconography, pieces from our private collection. We can also show what were done in the past to appreciate the volumes, the color, the effects on materials. So, and everything can happen during such a meeting. Sometimes creation can start from a detail that started recently with a small engraving that has become a strong pattern named Décor Palace. It's an engraving that Piaget has been doing since the 60s. But suddenly, the creative studio said, well, it should be really amazing to reuse it, to amplify it. And then they have used it on high jewelry pieces and also on when-coming collections, such as Possession jewelry, for instance. And it's becoming a major signature in our maison in terms of design. Or sometimes they can be also inspired by a previous collection. At Piaget, we have a collection born in 1969 named 21st Century Collection. And this collection is kind of bing bang for the Maison, because it was this collection only made of cuff watches and swinging sautoirs, made with amazing color, chain making, engraving, so unexpected. And in this collection, they are full of elements such as shapes. And for instance, we have the trapeze shape that is very inspiring for the creative studio, and that gives birth to a new watch named 60 that is launched at this year at Watches and Wonders in Geneva. Watches and Wonders is a huge fair for the watch industry in Geneva. So, the creative process is really starting from many kind of ideas. And then, of course, because we have, of course, the creative studio, but also the marketing, the development, some artisan, everybody can come and add its expertise to try to make the creative process more performing in one way.
So last year was a huge milestone for Piaget as the Maison celebrated its 150th anniversary. In 1874, Georges-Édouard Piaget founded a watchmaking workshop. His descendants ran the house for 4 generations and are still associated with it today, even though it's now part of the Richemont Group. Piaget started out as a movement manufacturer and was a maker for other brands such as Omega or Cartier over the years before becoming a designer. And it wasn't until 1943 when brothers Gérald and Valentine Piaget, who were the CEOs of Piaget at the time, decided to register the brand as a trademark. Where did the brothers see the business opportunity to move from a watch movement manufacturer to a luxury brand with the Piaget name on the dial?
Indeed, this period around the World War II is a very existential moment. I think it's a period of transformation, not only for the watch industry, but for many industries. And Scott, the two brothers, they were young in 1943. Gerald was 26 and Valentin 21. So the 30s have been a tough period for both of them, but they were already very much engaged in the company from what we can read from the archive. We know that they have helped moving Piaget from artisanal production to semi-industrial production. They have also continued to build the strong reputation of Piaget on ultracine. They have improved the quality thanks to the semi-industrial production. They had a great portfolio of prestigious Swiss clients, as you mentioned before, and also regular orders from the American market, which was less linked with the war locally. So I guess, because it's not written, but I guess they had a strong confidence and intuition in the development of the watchmaking industry post-war. I think they felt it was a pivotal moment for them, because when we asked Valentine Piaget, aged of 91 years old in 2013, why did you register the brand in 1943 during the war?
Mm-hmm.
He said, we were preparing the future. So I think this answer encapsulates the trust in the future. And I think a part of the answer to your question is finally in the entrepreneurial spirit of the family.
And so when Piaget registered its own trademark in the 1940s, most of the high-profile heritage Swiss luxury watch brands dated back to the 18th and 19th centuries, and Piaget was really the new kid on the block, if you will, as far as the brand goes. Was that a creative advantage for Piaget?
Well, I like your expression, new kid on the block. Well, if I may use another metaphor to visualize the creative adventures, I will come back to ancient Greek concepts of times, where Piaget refers more to kairos than chronos, so more to enjoy all times than to only count time. So I think that when the Piaget decided to launch itself as a brand in the 40s, the market was already busy with major brands offering high quality, high precision watches, with a strong focus also on functionality, such as watches for aviators, divers, car drivers, military, space race, and so on. So Valentine and Gérald Piaget, they broke with tradition, and they leveraged ultracine to impose an elegant jewel-like style. Finally, they decided that a watch is a jewel, and this make their creative advantage. Even if we could consider it as a niche, but they wanted or they feel that the society has evolved and that people will move from work to lifestyle in one way. So they wanted to go beyond a time instrument. And Monsieur Yves Piaget always says, at Piaget, a watch is first and foremost a piece of jewelry. So, from the third to the fourth generation, they are never ceased to claim that at Piaget, uh, they are both jeweler and watchmaker, a kind of jeweler of times. And to make it, in fact, in the patrimony, we understood that they made around 5 major decisions to make it come true. The first, which is still very visible, is the fact that they want only to work gold and platinum, only precious material. They also decided to use ultra-thin movement to stimulate all kind of ideas for new design. And they have, well, moved to some sleek design, very elegance, to flamboyance in their creativity.
Mm-hmm.
They have also developed women's offer with really true elegant watches designed for women. It was not womanization of masculine model, it was really designing for women. That's why we had such a huge range in the collection for women. And they also decided to advertise and communicate not only a product, but a sense of style, a universe of jewelry and watches designed for men and women. So when we see their advertising of that time, and when I was talking about, for instance, Alberto Rizzo as a photographer or some others, we can really feel it. And I think the last decision they took to make this I would say fusion, or this absence of border between jewelry and watches, is that they opened their first salon in Geneva in 1959, and they launched their first high jewelry collection. So, well, doing all this, in fact, this creative advantage made Piaget a Swiss exception in one way in the watchmaking universe. Because they were modern in one way by tradition, but in one way they have been avant-garde by conviction, if I can say.
Movement manufacturing and the art of miniaturization and ultra thin watchmaking are long traditions of Piaget. Throughout its history, the brand has become synonymous with legendary record breaking thin watches. What led Piaget to pursue creating ultra thin movements?
Well, it's a very good question. I think it's because ultracine is our core business. It's the first business of the maison linked to the founder, to Georges-Édouard Piaget, who really had this motto, always do better than necessary. And sometimes, just to joke internally, we say always do thinner than necessary, so while for some players maybe ultracine is a trend, for Piaget it's an identity. And it has been so far almost for 150 years if we are talking about movement, and 70 years without interruption if we are talking about watches. And you know that ultracine movement is a cornerstone of the Altiplano collection.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that also ultracine has been able to stay as a trademark of Piaget, because it allows in itself, in its DNA, the elegance and the the stylistic signature of Piaget across generations. And I think it's why finally the Maison has never decided to go for something else than interesting.
Piaget kicked off its 150th anniversary celebration at last year's Watches and Wonders with a substantial lineup of timepieces from new concepts, updated classics, and a range of high jewelry watches. How do you go about planning for a big milestone like that honors the company's legacy while also embracing the future?
Well, yes, indeed. 150 years, it's an emotional milestone, not just a milestone, but an emotional milestone.
Yeah.
It's not just a number. It had a strong meaning for all the Piaget employees, And during that route, every day we agree to share our roots, where the story begins, and how to link it to our present, Within the general management, it could be marketing, communication, sales. We were all aligned with a creative vision to show how past and present collide into flamboyance at Piaget. We were not so much interested to do a chronological narrative of 150 years of history. We prefer to talk about what makes Piaget And this creative vision finally has also ensured the coherence of the brand's image all the year long, because you see that Piaget has been doing so many things that we could have also make a kind of squattered image or blurred image. So it was very important to keep on sticking to this creative vision. And of course, this celebration has been the creative fireworks of novelties, a new high-jewelry collection, a major event and exhibition in Paris, and experiences for our clients in our network. But I can also share you a more sensitive milestone, but very important, wished by Monsieur Yves Piaget and also supported by Benjamin Comar, our CEO. It was to celebrate for the staff, for the Piaget people, an event in the tiny village at La Côte aux Fées in the Swiss Jura, where the family and the brand were born, in homage to all those who work today, but also for all those who has worked before and that also contributed to make what the brand is today. And we were several hundreds of people in this tiny village. And I think it remains also for every one of us who have been living the 150th anniversary, a true connection with the brand, very emotional.
And at Watches and Wonders, you showed off the technical watchmaking you're most famous for, another record-setting, ultra-thin watch. The Altiplano Ultimate Concept Tourbillon comes in just 2 millimeters thick, the same remarkable thinness as the original record-setting Altiplano from 2018. However, it now boasts the addition of a tourbillon, taking it to a whole new dimension. How did this horological feat come to life?
So if you agree, I will move from 2 millimeter thick to 2 millimeter thin. Because when a tourbillon watch is 2 millimeter thin, all the rules change indeed. Well, this has been a strategic input, of course, from the top management and the marketing to mark a special anniversary, also for ultra thin and for the story of the maison. And indeed, you know that the tourbillon is a complication which combines a wonderful visual effect. You have the feeling to see a heart beating. Movement, it's also a technical challenge, and it's very beautiful and appreciated by the watch connoisseur. So, well, this achievement follow in one way the impetus that led to the birth of the legendary ultra-thin movement, such as the 9P, Caliber's 9P, the 12P, and also, if you remember, in 2018, the Altiplano Ultimate Concept. So, well, we have a ultra-thin laboratory located in La Côte aux Fées with a team of talented engineers, movement architects, and designer. And they have also been working, as we were talking before about the creation, but here also they have been working in a strong collaborative process, including also design team and some other teams at many stage, because it was so challenging that they have also been working on trying out, testing ideas, retaining or discarding them, then starting again over and over again. So of course there is a method. They have been working with computer, but also with paper and pencil, memory, but also culture. And when I'm talking about memory, I just would like to share this with you, with that we have a great watchmaker, Bernard. He was on the way to retire, but before retiring, he wanted to achieve this Altiplano Ultimate Concept tourbillon. And in fact, he has been working and helping to face some of the challenge. So how to insert a tourbillon when the space inside the watch is already full. So it was if I may summarize for to answer this question, is that this ultimate concept tourbillon, it was not only a technical feat, even if it is, but it was also a human challenge that passion makes possible for this anniversary. And when we presented to Monsieur Yves Piaget, when it was finished, he said, well, I have nothing to say. Everything is said in this watch. So everybody was really, at the same time, honored by the comment, even if probably they would have expected some more felicitations in one way.
And the brand also brought back the original Piaget Polo, which launched in 1979. It's perhaps its most important design. It's a jewelry watch that's caught somewhere in the beautiful expanse between flamboyance and sophistication, elegance and extravagance. What did the birth of Piaget Polo do for the brand in terms of cultural awareness and growth?
You are talking about a legends quote. A legend in the market, but also a legend for all Piaget employees. So to be maybe more close to your question, for me, I have the feeling that the Piaget Polo really positioned the brand on the American market. It was also for that Piaget decided to launch this watch, but also to be positioned in the luxury sports watch segment, because Piaget, of course, is a European brand and was considered by the American market to be a bit more too much dressy and maybe not corresponding perfectly to the evolution of the American way of life, which was chic luxury but also daily. And I think it's why this watch has helped Piaget to succeed in the US. But in addition to that, and we will come back to it, but it was the first time that Piaget was using communication and culture of the marketing of the time to support the launch of that watch. Because before they were more in a creative process, in craftsmanship, they had a crew of grand vendeurs, but they are never used so much the communication in the way they will do it for the Polo. So, well, the design of the Piaget Polo is very recognizable. You know, it's made of 150 grams of gold, so it's so Piaget. You know, you have this total integration of the bracelet, the case, and the dial, this alternating polish and matte surfaces, so which was really typical of this watch. It was also featuring at that time the world's thinnest quartz movement, the 7P. Well, at that time, quartz was really appealing for the young generation. And also, this is the first watch that bear a name in the Piaget history. Before Polo, no watch had any name, only a reference number. And Piaget also became the first watchmaker to sponsor a Polo tournament with a World Cup in Palm Beach. And they used the Polo in advertising as a means of communication to raise the profile of its watch. And of course, it was consistent because you know probably that Monsieur Piaget loves horses. He has horses. He used to ride, so it makes sense for him. And if Piaget also introduced the Piaget Polo into the jet set, associating stars with the world of luxury, sold such as Andy Warhol, Brooke Shield, Ursula Andress, Roger Moore, Bjorn Borg, Sammy Davis Jr. So all those famous people have worn the legendary Polo. And for the small story, because I take advantage of this podcast, but you know, we missed two Polo watches in the 1988 Sotheby's auctions of Andy Warhol, because he used to own Warhol. So if somebody is listening and know where they are, where we are still looking for them, so we will be very happy to be connected. So, well, I think that what Piaget promoted for the very first time, more than a watch, they promoted a lifestyle. And if we consider all what I've been telling you that was made 45 years ago, we can feel that the Piaget family and the American market the American agent, they were very forward thinking, because it resembled on what we do today, that we name 360-degree activations. But at that time, it has no name, but it was just for them, I would say, many elements to create a success, but I think it's very bright. And it's true that for our 150th anniversary, we were talking about the ultimate concept tourbillon, but we were also so proud to relaunch this Piaget watch, which is a legend. And of course, the new name is Piaget Polo 79. And it's a return to, well, the true expression of the original design, with a larger size, because it was 34 millimeter and now it's 38 millimeter for the dial. And of course, we have moved from quartz movement to an ultra automatic movement, the 1200 P1. And without being superlative, the success of the watch has been immediate. I think it's probably because this is the true appeal of an iconic model. That may happen also for many other maisons in leather, in fashion, or in jewelry and watches. And I think that these models still carry a sense of distinction, is still a statement piece today. And for me, when I was presenting this watch to some clients or some connoisseur, I have the feeling that when you acquire the new Piaget Polo 79, you also own all the stories that goes with it. All the stories of the 70s. Yes.
I want to talk about Andy Warhol for a second. So, Andy Warhol was an avid collector of curiosities throughout his life. He was also a passionate watch collector who owned hundreds of timepieces. Not many people knew how many watches he had in his secret collection that was stashed away in his dresser drawer until over 300 of them were sold by Sotheby's during this auction of the Warhol estate in 1988. Warhol was a big fan of Piaget watches. He was known for sporting the cushion-shaped Piaget dress watch known as the black tie. And for the 150th anniversary last year, you released the Andy Warhol Clou de Paris watch, the first of the Maison's offerings to launch under the Andy Warhol name. Could you talk about Piaget's association with Andy Warhol and the Clou de Paris watch?
Yes, with pleasure. So we know that Andy Warhol was seduced by the creativity and distinction promoted by Piaget in the US. And as you mentioned, what we know today that he really owned at least 7 pieces, 7 watches from Piaget, and pretty agey models such as Ingot's Secret Watch or a Kerr watch, because we know that he was a Piaget client before he met Monsieur Yves Piaget in New York. So that's why we can say that he was interested, and probably he found Piaget appealing at that time. And to come back to the model we are considering, well, he bought this watch in 1973, and that watch, as I said before, had no name. It was just a number. It was a 15102. So, and it was a very limited quantities because we only made 26 quantity during from 1972 to 1977. So I even think that it's lucky that Andy Warhol found one.
Yeah.
So, and then the model after 1977 disappeared, and it has been relaunched for the 140th anniversary of Piaget and animated regularly. And what happened is that this watch has a strong attractivity, and it was growing by word of mouth and becoming highly sought after by collectors. And the collectors, and even sometimes press, and even within the maison, sometimes we used to call it the Andy Warhol, but it was not allowed. So under the impetus of Benjamin Coma, we have contacted the Andy Warhol Foundation and negotiated the right to use the trademark Andy Warhol for this model. And it's true that we have had a very nice, I would say, meetings, encounters, and collaboration with all the people working for the Andy Warhol Foundation and the visual arts. And on one side, and we will come back maybe later, but we have been using the Andy Warhol image to celebrate our story, and we have also been using Andy Warhol for this specific model. So we have had a comprehensive collaboration with the foundation. And Piaget also wanted not just maybe to do another animation for the 150 years, but to celebrate the collaboration with something strong. And so they have had they imagined this Andy Warhol Clou de Paris, which I can tell you is really merging creativity but also technical mastery, because to do Clou de Paris, which are like small pyramid, but not on a square watch, but a watch which has a cushion shape and which has different steps. It was also a challenge in the gold crafting approach. And you were talking about customization. It's true that Piaget already launched in 1963 what they named a style collector, where you could, well, customize your watch. And For the new Andy Warhol, clients are offered again a personalization possibilities, and we have a configurator on the website, so you can also do it on a digital way, or of course in our boutique, playing with different dial materials to leather strap colors, and to be able finally to have, or I would say, semi-personalization, choosing among a choice, or having total personalization, but then it's a bit longer to do it. But it's true that you can own your own Andy Warhol watch if you feel for.
Hmm. And Andy Warhol was also a key member of the Piaget Society, which was this elite inner circle made up of clients, artists, and celebrities who often attended exclusive events and parties hosted by Yves Piaget in big cities around the world. These legendary signature events became the place to be in the 60s and 70s. Guests ranging from Warhol to Elizabeth Taylor, Ursula Andress, Brooke Shields, Salvador Dali, brand influencers of the time, but without social media, of course. What was Yves Piaget hoping these experiences would do for the brand?
Well, yeah, we may wonder was why Piaget was so influential at that time. And I think the answer is really thanks to the personality of Monsieur Yves Piaget. And if I may, I think in the US you have a quote that says that when you know where you come from, you know where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also true with the Piaget family, as we went from La Côte aux Fées to La Côte d'Azur, it's the French Riviera, to become who we are. And I think that Monsieur Piaget wanted to go a step further because, well, the plane possibilities have developed, so he was traveling a lot in the world, and I think he really wanted to, at the fourth generation, to also impact the brand, and he wanted to increase the desirability and the awareness of the maison. So he put in place a kind of resort strategy, which was not named that way, but we can call it a resort strategy with
Mm-hmm.
events of relaxed elegance and festive spirit. He definitively chose resort places where his clientele loved to go, such as Monaco, Gstaad, Amalfi Coast, Palm Beach, Palm Spring, Aspen, offering to the clientele a social calendar that would otherwise be inaccessible to them, even if they were pretty wealthy, because
Right.
he was inviting artists, yeah, music stars, as you said, famous sportsmen, and he was mixing celebrities and clients with amazing performance, of course, always showcasing Piaget creations. And it becomes what we name the Piaget Society. So places where you want it to be, because you may, of course, be with the maison, but also have great encounters. And to go on to what you said, I think that in one way, if Piaget was social before the social media in that way, as well as Warhol also, if I may, because Warhol had his factory, this cultural hotspot attracting artists, photographs, maybe more from the counterculture, but the Piaget Society was also a kind of a society attracting singers, movie stars, and I think they had really the same interest in entertainment and their visibility and how they could impact on one side their artistry and on the other side the desirability of the brand. And for this 150th anniversary, it was also very important for us to reconnect to where we come from, to our roots. Then the communication department had this great idea to create a magazine
Yeah.
gathering history, stories, talent from yesterday and today, but also some major moments of the year of celebration, 2024, and offered to the client and friend of the brand this magazine to, well, as a gift to thank them for their loyalty to the maison over the year. And now we know that this I would say exceptional edition has a strong success. So the maison even decided that it will become a yearly edition finally.
Piaget has such a diverse archive of extraordinary watches. Which Piaget collection do you personally feel is the purest expression of the Maison's identity?
So for me, I think the purest expression of our maison or the identity are jewelry watches, because they really merge gold crafting, vibrant colors, play of shape, and of course there is the ultrasonic movement. But it's really with Polo, Gala, Altiplano, we really have the uh, all the mastery that is really igniting artistry in one way and serve a unique style. And I think the jewelry watches are really the link between watch, the real watch activity and the real jewelry activity. I think it's the heart of it.
As the head of Patrimony, you are the gatekeeper to Piaget's archive of hundreds and hundreds of watches and jewelry pieces. Piaget has been creating jewelry since 1959, and you're one of the few brands that are strong in both jewelry and watches. But the jewelry business seems to fly under the radar. It's almost like it's for insiders, for connoisseurs of fine jewelry. How does Piaget's jewelry business differentiate itself?
It's probably a perception, Scott, because today jewelry represents an important part of the brand business, and we equally valorize our watch and jewelry category inside. For example, the Possession collection is over 30 years old and is today one of the most iconic jewels on the market with some other jewelry maisons. So I think, as we have said, there is a jewelry soul in Piaget, and jewelry expresses also the extravaganza side of the maison, mixing gold color, gem setting, and taking the inspiration also during the 60s and 70s area, as well as the company's own emblems, such as the Piaget rose, which is a true flower, and also the sun. It's another emblem of the maison, which is linked to Piaget radiance. Without talking about all the creativity and the exclusivity of our yearly high jewelry collection. So I think it's maybe a perception, but from our identity and from the way we express, it could be on edition advertising, website, content creation. Really, the jewelry is equally presented as the watches.
Piaget's CEO Benjamin Comar joined the Maison in 2021 and has been tasked with preserving and promoting the brand's long history and aligning on a clear message moving forward. Around that time, you became Piaget's head of patrimony. How are you both working together to meet those ambitions?
Well, probably you know that Benjamin Comar has a broad culture of luxury and he has a strong knowledge of codes and driver in that business. So
Mhm.
he really appreciated Piaget's heritage. And as soon as he joined the Maison, he asked me if we could increase the visibility of our heritage by promoting much more our private collection. First in our network of boutiques to highlight our history, the link also with our today's icon, because he felt that there were a kind of lack of narrative around these objects, and also to engage the conversation with the client or the guest of the maison. For instance, similarly, he really wanted to highlight Piaget heritage throughout the 150th anniversary, as I said before, and both in physical events, but we have also been working on video sagas about Piaget history. It was a way, and it was really supportive because when I was talking before about when you use image with celebrities, where you have, of course, intellectual property and you have to pay for the rights, so you need huge budget, and he was very supportive, helping us to make it. And of course he loves and is always regularly informed of vintage pieces that we wish to acquire to enrich our private collection. So for him, heritage is, I would say, the key leverage to build the brand equity of Piaget and to increase the value.
I'm sure Piaget has an extensive archive of documents that stretches back to its very first watches, so you know more or less everything there is to know about Piaget's history. How does this connection between the past and the present make it a source of inspiration for future styles?
Well, I will be humble because it's going to be very difficult to know all about the Piaget history, as it's 150 years, you need a lot of time to capture everything. But indeed, um, I think that the link between past and present was at the heart of our 150th anniversary celebration, and is very valuable because he was able to show the great continuity we have in-house. Piaget was not a brand that did something 50 years ago and is totally doing something else today. There is a great continuity. And if I may, I think it's also due to the stability of our creative team. I don't know if you know, but we have had somebody named Jean-Claude Guette, who has been responsible during 40 years of the creation at Piaget. And today we have Stéphanie Civrière for also the last 20 years. So, among Jean-Claude and Stéphanie, they encapsulate 60 years of creation. So it's very key also to have I would say an inspiration that is true and that you can reconnect. And I will tell you also this other anecdote because I think it was very innovative for a Swiss watchmaker. Is that Valentin Piaget in the 60s sent its designer to Paris couture shows, to Dior, to Cardin, to Courrèges, where the designer were immersed in the world of fashion, and when they returned to Switzerland, much more inspired, they were translating this inspiration into their design, sketching timepieces, jewelry, and they were doing that directly onto models' portraits in the magazine they were purchasing. And why they were doing that? It's because they really wanted to be sure that their creations were in tune with their time and if possible, avant-garde. And today, this is still an incredible source of inspiration for the creative team because they are never thinking about copying the past. They are more trying to understand, when they think about that pendant or that ring or that cuff or that sautoir, what was the idea behind, what did they wanted to express, what was the influence, because Piaget has been influenced by pop art, but also minimalism, but also op art. And so they are always trying to capture finally the inspiration and the intuition, and then to master it, to be able to deliver something new, but understanding the energy of that time.
So, in your experience, how has the brand perhaps evolved since your journey started there 25 years ago?
It's a good question. Well, at Piaget, we know a thing or two about oscillation.
Hmm.
And evolution in the luxury world is also made about oscillation, like within a watch, according to the economy, the trends, the price of gold and the market, everything. So honestly, I have the chance to know 4 CEOs who have succeeded each other since Piaget became part of the group. They have had different growth strategies, but they have always kept the same quest for distinction as a priority for the maison. I think the distinction, the elegance, this extravagance is really remained the key driver of all of them. So it's my feeling, of course. And maybe what has changed the most in the last 2 decades is more the importance given to heritage, not only at Piaget, but I feel it also in the luxury world generally, except maybe to some maisons such with very, I would say, iconic designers such as maybe Coco Chanel or Yves Saint Laurent. But at first, sometimes for watch and jewelry, heritage was more seen as a museum, certainly respected,
Hmm.
but probably far behind the conquest of desirability driven by a strong creativity. The creative was renewing fast during between the year 2000 up to the first crisis with the subprime, then with the crisis with the Chinese in 2015.
Right.
So I think at that time creativity was probably the key driver. And maybe due to some crises, the lack of differentiation sometimes, because maybe sometimes we could also be in the risk of copying the others, just because of the influence, not with a true intention to do it, but just because we were, thanks to the rise of internet, everybody could feel the same inspiration. The rise of social networks also. Then suddenly heritage has become a credible source of differentiation and legitimacy. And for instance, I was talking about those video saga we have made with our archives, around the script with music, a great voice. And we have noticed that we have captivated a new audience, and we have created a new appeal on our maison. So I would say that today, heritage, depending on how we put it on stage or we bring it to life, it's really a lever for positive perception of the brand. And if we are honest, especially today, we can see that maisons with strong heritage, such as Hermès or Chanel or Cartier, are still overperforming the market.
Well, Jean-Bernard, my final question is the luxury item question, which I ask all my guests. So if you were stranded on a deserted island and you could only have one single luxury item with you, what would that luxury item be? It can't be any form of air or water transportation to get you off that island or anything that requires mobile service so you can call somebody to come pick you up off that island. What would that one single luxury item you would like to have with you?
Well, it's a tricky question, but probably I'm thinking about a catalog. I see not such a long time ago where Piaget was doing unexpected item, and Piaget used to do Swiss knives in gold. I don't know if you know what is a Swiss knife.
Of course.
Okay, so great. So, well, I think I could choose that because on one side it's luxurious, as you said, and at the same time it could be precious also on both meaning on a desert island. We have amazing object at Piaget. We have a calculator in gold. We have a lighter. We have hourglasses. We have sunglasses. We have many things. We have belt. But I never had one in my hand. But I know that they exist because I've seen them in the catalog. So well, I was thinking if I'm alone on a desert island, maybe I could use a knife, but a Piaget Swiss knife, full gold.
I love that answer. Jean-Bernard Forot, head of Patrimony at Piaget. Thank you so much for joining me on the luxury item.
Thank you, Scott. It was a pleasure.
That's it for this episode of the Luxury Item Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this useful and entertaining, I would be really grateful if you can share it with a friend or colleague. I would love it if you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other listeners find us. The Luxury Item Podcast is a production of Silvertone Consulting. I'm your host, Scott Kerr. Until next time.